What's up, everybody? It's me, E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and today we are going to break down episode 7 of Bel-Air, and I gotta say, there is a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into the breakdown. Lisa's dad is asking for her to put some space between her and the Banks family. At the same time, Uncle Phil is asking Will to chill out on Lisa when it comes to his background and why he actually came to Philly. Will and Lisa don't care and continue to sneak around. Hillary made a sexy chef video, and apparently, Kylo from the influencer house posted it online for her. She forgot to read the fine print to know that everything recorded in the influencer house is fair game to be posted. Uncle Phil needs more money into his campaign, so he proceeded to make the political contribution without Aunt Viv's consent. She definitely wasn't feeling that move at all. KKK Connor made one racist joke during the lacrosse practice. While playing, Carlton remembered Black History Month just ended and sought out some early reparations when he caught Connor slipping. He charged him on the field and jacked up his wrists. So both Phil and Fred are trying to protect, Will and Lisa in a way from each other, but at the same time, they're still kind of using them, because of the fact that they're in these politics. And y'all know politics is already messy. Now, Will and Lisa say that they're going to tell Carlton about themselves later, but come on now, y'all know that ain't gonna happen. I mean, we need some drama, so they'll probably set it up where he finds out and probably goes and gets coked out later. Now, I have to say, I really like that interaction between Hillary and the sex expert in the influencer house, because it was a really good demonstration of how, even if you're an expert at something, you can still have social blind spots, right? And in this case, the blind spot is the intersectionality of being a Black woman. Right. So the influencer can sit here and talk about, oh, you got to be sexually free and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And that's great, but being a Black woman does come with some other issues that might not be so easily applied to the way that this influencer is talking. And if you don't know what Hillary was talking about when she was talking about the hypersexualization of Black women, all you can do, I would say, is like you can Google the bias against Black women in search results, right? So I believe like it's getting a little bit better now, but not too long ago, if you were to just Google the term Black girls, for example, a lot of pornographic and adult imagery would show up. But like if you were to, search white girls, you'd get like these wholesome, normal pictures of white girls just doing everyday things, just being human. Now, it is important to note that much of that isn't Google's fault because the algorithm populates whatever things are typed in and searched for by people. So that means that this is a societal issue in terms of how people view Black women and how they are fetishized and viewed. As for that campaign money situation, first of all, I gotta say, I thought it was pretty funny when Steven got real quiet when Viv was like, so you gonna put some money into this too? Like, since you over here talking about our money, you gonna put something in? He was like, is that my mama calling? Yeah, I'm gonna just go that way. Yeah, he was gone after that. But I like this scene also with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv talking about money because I gotta say, anytime it comes to marriage and finances, that is the number one thing that you have to get right. You have to be on the same page about that from jump. And when Uncle Phil was sitting here talking about some my account, bro, that's a no-no, especially if you guys have joint accounts. Because if you have a joint account, ain't no my account. I mean, you could have your own little side money or whatever, but all the money supposedly is gonna be between all of y'all, right? So the moment you start doing the my account thing, it kind of it's kind of counter to having something joint, and it shows that it's like, well, if that's your money, then where's my money? And where are we supposed to draw this line? Because if it's joint, ain't no line. So That right there, he messed up. Uncle Phil messed up with that one. Now, going back to KK Connor, now the joke he made was obviously a pretty racist joke, right? And I'm not condoning violence here at all, but I'm not mad at the reaction Carlton took in clocking my man during practice either. So, it's a every action got a equal and opposite reaction. I'm just saying. I mean, however, look, Carlton does have to take some blame on this too, for Connor's actions. He gave Connor a pass for a long time, and Connor never knew what the line was. Connor never knew where to stop. And I'm sorry, but like, since Connor didn't know where the line was, guess what's gonna happen? He's gonna become a habitual line stepper. So, Carlton, you gotta speak up. Carlton is now feeling the same way Will did when Will first arrived to the school and was harassed. Carlton even apologized to Will for all the BS that he put him through. Will has a plan to help Carlton revive his image, though. Hillary shows Aunt Viv the Thirsty Chef video. Despite her efforts, Hillary is not able to get in touch with Kylo to get that video taken down. So Aunt Viv tells Hillary to avoid consulting her father for help and to handle this situation on her own. Vivian decides to go to an art fair, but doesn't tell Phil about it. So Phil asks Jeffrey to get some flowers and a spa day set up for her, but Jeffrey informs him that there's more to this art affair that meets the eye. That is, Reed will be showing up there too. Jeffrey also tells Phil that Reed has a little bit of a reputation. Now, I'm definitely happy to see Carlton and Will kind of like working things out, which, earlier in my previous reaction, I had said like how I didn't really like how they were making Carlton such a villain, but clearly this was going to build up in a way that is going to make them bond a little bit more. So I definitely like the fact that, they are connecting a little bit more here. It just kind of sucks that Carlton had to go through all this mess with Connor and all of them to finally understand and to empathize with Will in terms of like where Will was coming from all this time. So, but I guess it's better late than never. It just kind of sucks that Carlton had to get knocked out of his comfort zone to get to that point. Like, it was almost the first time Carlton felt like what it means to be black, at least for a very long time for him. I mean, because here's the thing. A lot of times, as a way to kind of like assimilate, black people, especially in communities that are predominantly white, black folks will have to feel the temptation to fit in. I mean, that's actually kind of a normal feeling. Nobody wants to feel left out. But if you're like the only black person in an area, you're going to want to fit in with everybody else, as best as you can. Now, these black folks might stop seeing color, which, by the way, is a very bad thing. Stop doing that, in hopes that it'll help them just get by, right? Unfortunately, we don't live in a post-racial world yet. So recognizing and embracing and respecting color, because you do want to see color, is actually the far better route to go. So Carlton kind of lost sight of that over time, and he's just now feeling the ramifications of what happens when you bury that inside for too long. I mean, just notice how Carlton never had any of these issues with race until another black person like Will showed up to wake him up. Now, going to the Viv and Hillary situation, I actually love the lesson that Aunt Viv taught to Hillary. That's the job of a parent, right? Like, you want to teach your children how to be independent. And I mean, look, I always teach my own kids, look, my job is to protect you, it is to love you, but ultimately, before I leave this earth, I need to make sure that you know how to be a responsible adult and take care of yourself, right? So that's what Aunt Viv was doing for Hillary by telling her to go fight for herself and not just always rely on her dad. Because yes, her dad is going to be there and have her back and fight tooth and nail for her, but sometimes you got to learn how to do that yourself, because what if he's not around, So I love the fact that she is instilling that into Hillary, because that is such a viable lesson that needs to be learned. Now, one thing I will say for Aunt Viv is that I didn't really like that whole little tit for tat thing that she was doing with Uncle Phil, where she was like, well, I ain't got to tell you about my little art trip, but because you didn't tell me about the money. It's like, come on now, the whole eye for an eye thing, that doesn't work. It leaves everybody blind. It's not good, especially in marriages, because when you do those little microaggressions over time, it builds up, and then that's how you have resentment. It's just not a good thing to do. But I will say, I really love what Aunt Viv was doing, like why she was doing her trip, for the art fair or whatnot. Because she's doing something for herself to get some exposure and stuff. And I'm like, yo, go get your passion. Like, get that. I love that part. But I'm gonna say this though. Reed don't come up missing. My man you already know I don't like the fact that my man got to whisper everything. I don't like whispers. Why he got to whisper everything? I don't trust him. I don't trust him. Just saying. All Uncle Phil needs to do is give Jeffrey the word, and my man will vanish. Vivian shows up to the art fair, and Reed's thirsty self runs up to meet her. He continues to gas her up until Uncle Phil swoops in and blocks all that noise. He tells Viv that he's canceled all his campaign events just to come and support her. And of course, Reed had to come in and try and be slick and do a little blocking himself. But Uncle Phil wasn't having any of that and threw a couple shots at Reed by bringing up his track record with all the ladies. Viv and Phil go back to their room, and she tells him that Reed makes her feel alive. She confides in him that she resented Uncle Phil for not fully supporting her passion for art all these years. He makes you feel what? Oh, hell no. No, 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 no. We ain't another man make you feel, oh, no, no, thanks, ma'am, please. Now, look, Uncle Phil did believe in Viv's art, but Phil never asked her about her art, right? That was her issue. And I don't think that's really fair. Phil's been rather supportive of her, but the issue here is that he wasn't supportive in the way that she wanted him to be. And I think that's again an issue when it comes to communication, right? I mean, if anytime you find yourself finding fulfillment from other people that are not your spouse, that needs to be a conversation. Okay. Spouses can't read each other's minds. Okay. So that means you have to let your spouse know how you feeling, when you're feeling it, because the sooner you could tell them, the earlier you give them an opportunity to actually act on it. Now, of course, if you do tell your spouse, hey, I want this, I want to feel that, and they don't act on it at that point, now you can hold them better accountable to that. But it's not cool to sit here and hold these feelings in for 15 years or whatever, and then all of a sudden now you mad because your husband didn't know how you were feeling all this time. Like that's not really cool. That's not fair. And I'm not saying that Aunt Viv is wrong for feeling what she feels. She's totally entitled to feel that way. I'm just saying she actually needs to communicate that, right? Because the whole time Uncle Phil thinks that he's doing right. Like if I'm doing something for you and you don't tell me, "Hey, stop, I don't like this," I'm going to assume everything is okay. So Uncle Phil's literally, he said that, yo, I wanted to take care of you financially so that you didn't have to do nothing. Like if you don't say nothing, people are going to assume you're fine. But something else I do want to highlight here, I absolutely love that, in this whole confrontation that they're having, this discussion, Uncle Phil is actively listening to what she's talking about. And I know some people have had issues with Bel-Air in terms of how they're showing more of Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil's relationship and their marriage, and having all this potential drama and everything. But let me tell you something. This is marriage. Like what you're seeing here, that's marriage. And this is actually, I would say, a pretty healthy depiction of it. When they say that marriage is work, this is part of it, right? I mean, the work comes in communication and learning how to argue. A lot of people don't know how to argue. They're having a very productive conversation here where, like, one person says how they feel, the other person actively listens, and then they go and say their piece. That's the way it should be. So, yes, this is not, no relationship is going to be drama free, but it's how you work through it that matters. And I love the fact that they're showing a healthy black couple doing this in a productive manner. Jazz comes through to keep Hillary company. She gets a notification about Kylo's location, and Jazz is ready to help her confront him. When they meet, Kylo says it's all about the numbers and the algorithm and offers an introduction for Hillary to meet Victoria's Secret's reps. Hillary gives the thirsty chef idea a second thought. She gets the offer from Victoria's Secret to receive $15,000 per post. Jazz, however, is disappointed that she would sell her image in that way. Hillary thinks he just doesn't understand because he's barely been on social media and ain't nobody checking for Jazz like that. He reminded her that he drove all the way down here to help her, but Hillary missed that point completely. First of all, let me just say that I was really excited to see Jazz and Hillary's relationship taking off. I'm like, okay, Hillary, okay, y'all they so cute together. I like that. I really did. But I gotta say, I kind of side with Jazz right now. Like, I mean, I'm all for female empowerment. Do your thing, boo boo. Do your thing, But listen, I agree with him that Hillary simply didn't need to do the thirsty chef thing for the likes. I mean, I know you do it for the gram, but you ain't always got to do it for the gram, right? And at this point, it feels like Hillary is compromising herself anyway, because she didn't need to do all of this stuff before to build up her following. So it's a little uncomfortable and it's a little awkward that she has to now feel compelled to change what worked for her before to doing something that she wasn't all that comfortable doing in the first place. So, I'm kind of with Jazz in this case that, like, you probably should have stuck to your guns and done exactly what what your first line of thinking was. Will throws a party at the house for Carlton. Meanwhile, Carlton is vibing with Aisha until she lets him know how everyone thinks he's a sellout. Carlton isn't feeling the party anymore because he doesn't think he could just change his image all of a sudden. Lisa tells Will that Carlton doesn't have the same black surroundings of friends that Will had in Philly, and that Carlton is going to need some more time to adjust. I really like this meeting with Aisha because in a way it's almost parallel to what happened with Uncle Phil when he went back to meet up with his frat brothers, right? Because Aisha brought up the fact that Carlton's never gone to the Black Student Union meetings, which kind of alludes to the idea that Carlton's indifference when it comes to racial issues, or Black matters. So some people might think, okay, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, I would say similar to how Uncle Phil, who has all this money and influence and power, Carlton was one of the most powerful people in his school, and he's Black, right? So, meaning he could possibly be a real difference maker when it comes to the racial issues that happen, maybe in his school, maybe in his community, if he were more involved with groups like the Black Student Union or other efforts, right? So, he could be that necessary bridge to actually help bring people together. However, as Lisa brought up, he doesn't have the same Black friend group or support system that Will had. And this is why he lets those microaggressions go. This is why, Carlton's constantly giving people passes whenever racial things come up. And I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not, gonna hold that back. This is a byproduct of white supremacy ideology. Now, again, for you, my non-black, viewers, white supremacy ideology is a way of thinking that normalizes whiteness. It's not only something people in the KKK believe, and it's not only subscribed to hatred of other people of color. The ideology is basically, it's way more widespread than that, and it's not something that only white people subscribe to. Anyone can adopt white supremacy ideology, even inadvertently, right? And this is kind of like what happens with Carlton, because through this normalization of whiteness, it can prevent people, especially people of color, it can prevent them from talking about racial issues, because racial issues happen to make white people uncomfortable. So if you're a black person and you're in a predominantly black, white area or community or group, you want to fit in. So if talking about racial issues makes everybody around you uncomfortable and you want to fit in, you probably feel uncomfortable talking about it too. Again, that ideology kind of like seeps in at that point. But thankfully, the way that Lisa pointed out, the racism in Bel Air for black people is handled much differently than it would be in West Philly. And that's sad and true at the same time. In other words, racism is so thick in America that we can't even have the same reactions to it as black folks. Like, that's how messed up it is. But hey, now Will understands why Carlton is on drugs. He understands why he's having all these anxiety issues. Because again, he doesn't have that support system, right? And people don't really understand the trauma behind black folks in America. It's not the same thing as someone just calling you a name or bullying you. You can get over stuff like that a lot of times, right? It's not something that just happens once in a blue moon and that's it. It's something as a black person you constantly live with and you constantly see reflected in so many different areas, especially the news. I mean, it's very, very hard to be a person of color, especially black people in America, and not see race, shoved in your face some way, shape, or form. It's one of those things we have to kind of live with. So I like the fact that, that they're highlighting that in this show, that, yeah, racism that Will might face, he could deal with it a whole different way. But how you deal with it in a predominantly white, affluent area like Bel Air, you might not have the same reaction. You might have anxiety because it's jacked up. It's real messed up. So, and unfortunately, a lot of black folks, we just can't escape it. Viv and Phil continue to have their radical honesty session. He brings up his side of the story where he believes Viv's fall from art wasn't completely on him. When he offers to take her for a drive, she declines and wishes to rescue herself. Then she ends up talking to Reed about the fellowship offer. Come on, Viv. Really? Ugh. Now, listen, I really respect that from Aunt Viv, right? Like, I don't like her getting all close to Reed after her husband just told her that he doesn't trust him, but we're gonna trust Aunt Viv right now, right? We're gonna trust her, right? We don't trust Reed, but we gonna trust Aunt Viv, because either way, we always got Jeffrey in our back pocket just in case. Just saying. But you know what? Look, I like the fact that Uncle Phil was always a fan of Aunt Viv's art, but he was just trying to support her in a different way. That's all. But it was interesting for him to bring that up, to bring up the point that he put the onus back on her. He said that she allowed herself to drown because of her own insecurities. I'm just saying that was a real moment. I'm just saying that was real, because it's easy to blame other people for your own issues, but sometimes you gotta step up and take account, for yourself. Just saying. It's not like Phil discouraged her from doing her art. It's not like he prevented her from doing it. She just felt insecure about it and didn't push. And Phil was just like, well, if you're not going to push, I'm just going to hold you financially. I got you. But she wanted him to push her back into art. So, but again, this is where that miscommunication happens. If you don't say, hey, push me back up, he's just going to hold you, right? That's just how it's going to be. So that's why it's so vital. And I love the fact that they are talking about these things because the communication is so vitally important here. Will and Lisa continue to talk. She confesses to him that her real name is Beulah. Beulah? Beulah? Oh. Will tells Lisa that he came out to Bel Air for a better education. Rather than going back to the party, Lisa suggests that they stay where they are and have their own kind of party. Brown chicken cow wow. So we see here that Will kind of sort of lied, to Lisa about the whole education thing, meaning that he actually listened to Uncle Phil by hiding his past and the real reason why he came out there, while Lisa ignored her father, because clearly she's still at the Banks residence or whatever. So my guess here is that somewhere down the line, we're going to see a little bit of a setup where Lisa's gonna get mad at Will because she's gonna find out the real reason why he came out to Bel Air. My money is that somewhere down the line, Carlton is gonna snitch and spill the beans. I don't know. Let me know what you think, though. Cracker Connor ends up coming to the party. Carlton called him out for all the racist stuff he said, and Connor didn't have the guts to just apologize. So now no one wants to hang out with Connor and his racist self. Carlton later receives a text from Connor saying that some new guests are about to arrive. The LAPD shows up. Lisa comes downstairs with her dad on the line to help fix the situation. However, Will and Lisa show up with a little less clothing than they had on before, which gives Carlton the impression that they've been up to no good. Well, here we go again. I mean, at this point, Lisa and Will are just going to be together. I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to need Carlton to move on and just take the L. Like, bro, it ain't going to happen. Give it up. The dream is over. I know it hurts, but you got to move on. I mean, Aisha's cute. Like, you might want to go talk to Aisha. I don't know, but that Lisa thing is just not happening, bro. I'm just saying. Anyway, listen, look, that's all I got for this episode of Bel Air. What did you think about this episode? How are you feeling about the decisions that Hillary made with the whole thirsty chef? And what do you think about Aunt Viv pursuing her art career and all that, but she still got Reed like right there? I'm just saying, do you think Uncle Phil is wrong with anything here too? Let me know your thoughts on that. Are Will and Lisa foul for continuing their love connection, even though they know how Carlton feels? I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for taking the time to watch my video. I really do appreciate it. If you're new here and you like what you see, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss out the next time I drop a video. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.